All right, strap yourselves in because today we're diving deep into FCA compliance and more specifically, risk management.
Uh-huh.
It might not sound like the most exciting topic, but believe me, this stuff is critical,
Right.
especially if you're navigating the UK financial landscape.
Absolutely.
We've got a ton of great material from Compliance Consultant,
Yeah.
the home of the compliance doctor.
I always picture like someone in a white coat
Right,
diagnosing financial risks.
exactly.
That's a great image.
But whatever image it evokes, their insights into FCA regulations are really valuable.
Absolutely.
So our goal today is to give you a clear understanding of the key FCA regulations, the biggest risks out there,
Yeah.
and some actionable strategies to make sure you're staying compliant.
Hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll feel, less intimidated by the FCA.
Right.
More empowered to actually tackle these challenges.
Exactly. So first things first.
Yeah.
What is the FCA and why should we care?
So the FCA, or Financial Conduct Authority, plays a huge role in making sure the UK's financial system is stable, fair, and protects consumers.
Okay.
So
they're not just about catching the bad guys.
Right.
They're also about making sure everyone is behaving ethically
Yeah.
and protecting those best interests.
Absolutely. That's a core part of their mission.
Okay. Got it.
And throughout all these resources from Compliance Consultant, we see lots of mention of some key FCA regulations,
Okay.
things like MiFID II, GDPR, and anti-money laundering laws, or AML.
Okay. Those sound pretty intimidating.
Right.
Can you break those down for us, like in plain English?
Sure.
What impact do they have on, our daily financial lives?
Absolutely. Let's start with MiFID II,
Okay.
which stands for Markets and Financial Instruments Directive 2.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But remember that big scandal a few years back
Yeah.
where investors lost millions because of these hidden fees
Right.
and lack of transparency?
Yeah. Yeah.
So MiFID II aims to prevent that kind of thing from happening again
Okay.
by forcing financial firms to be completely upfront
Mhm.
about all the costs and risks involved.
So it's all about putting more power in the hands of the investors
Exactly.
and making sure they're getting a fair deal.
You got it.
Okay.
Then you've got GDPR,
Mm-hmm.
the General Data Protection Regulation.
Okay.
And you encounter this every time you see those
Cookie pop-ups.
cookie pop-ups.
Yeah. Yeah.
GDPR gives you more control over your personal data,
Okay.
and it forces companies to be really transparent about how they collect and use your information.
So GDPR is like a digital bodyguard
Yeah,
for our data.
I like that analogy.
Okay. Good.
And lastly, you've got AML laws, which are all about stopping criminals
Right.
from using the financial system to launder money,
Okay.
finance terrorism,
Yeah.
and, all those other shady activities.
Right. So we've got regulations to protect investors, safeguard our data, keep the financial system clean. Seems like the FCA has their hands full.
They do.
But I have to ask,
Yeah.
where there are rules,
Yeah.
there's potential for things to go wrong.
Of course.
Right.
That's
What
true.
happens when things go sideways?
That's where understanding FCA compliance risks comes in.
Okay.
And let me tell you, the potential dangers are pretty numerous and complex.
So let's dive into that a bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the major areas we should be aware of?
Well, Compliance Consultant breaks down FCA compliance risks into 4 major categories:
Okay.
financial crime, conduct risk,
Okay.
operational risk, and data protection risk.
Okay.
Each one has its own unique challenges.
Okay. Financial crime, I get that.
Yeah.
We hear about that all the time.
Right.
Fraud, money laundering schemes.
Absolutely.
But what about these other ones? Can you give me like a real-world example of conduct risk?
Yeah, so imagine you're working with a financial advisor
Okay.
who keeps pushing a specific investment product,
Hmm.
even though it doesn't seem to really align with your goals.
Right.
You later find out that they're receiving a hefty commission
Okay.
for selling you that particular product.
Okay.
So that's a classic example of conduct risk, where the firm is prioritizing its own profits
Right.
over your best interests.
Wow. That's unsettling.
It is.
Makes you wonder how often that happens.
More often than you'd think, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's why the FCA is so focused on preventing those kinds of abuses.
Okay. Makes sense.
So how do companies actually tackle all these potential risks?
Yeah. It seems overwhelming.
Well, that's where risk management methodologies come in.
Okay.
It's not about eliminating risk entirely because that's impossible.
Right.
It's about having systems in place to identify,
Mm-hmm.
assess, and mitigate those risks effectively.
Okay, that makes sense.
So compliance consultant outlines 3 main types of risk assessment methodologies:
Okay.
qualitative,
Mm-hmm.
quantitative,
Mm-hmm.
and semi-quantitative.
Okay, can we break those down a bit?
Sure.
Let's start with qualitative.
All right, so qualitative assessments rely heavily on expert judgment.
Okay.
Think of it like bringing together a team of detectives
Yeah.
to brainstorm all these potential threats
Mhm.
and vulnerabilities.
Okay.
They use their knowledge and intuition
Yeah.
to assess the likelihood and impact of each risk,
Okay.
often using a tool called a risk matrix.
A risk matrix. What is that? Like a giant spreadsheet where they map out all the potential disasters?
Not exactly a spreadsheet, but you're on the right track. It's a visual tool,
Okay.
helps them categorize these risks as low, medium, or high,
Okay.
based on their potential impact
Mm.
and the likelihood of them happening.
So it's like a triage system
Exactly.
for risks,
Yeah.
helping them figure out which ones need immediate attention.
Precisely. And this approach is really valuable when you don't have a lot of data to work with.
Okay, so qualitative is a lot about expert judgment, intuition. What about quantitative assessments?
Yeah, quantitative assessments use a lot of numbers. They use statistical analysis
Right.
to get a more precise measurement of risk.
Right.
So imagine you're trying to predict the chances of a certain financial instrument losing value.
Okay.
Quantitative assessment would involve, crunching a lot of numbers,
Right.
analyzing historical data,
Mm.
even running simulations
Okay.
to understand the potential range of outcomes.
So less about gut feeling,
Yeah,
more about the data.
exactly.
Okay, and then there's semi-quantitative.
Right, which is a blend of the two.
So it bridges the gap
It does.
between qualitative and quantitative.
It bridges the gap by assigning numerical values to those qualitative judgments.
Okay.
So it's adding structure
Hmm.
and comparability to those expert opinions,
Yeah.
allowing you to prioritize risks more effectively.
All right, so we've got all these different ways of assessing risk.
Right.
But once you've identified them, analyzed them,
Yeah.
what's next? How do you actually manage them?
Well, compliance consultant has this whole toolkit of risk management strategies that companies can use.
All right, I want to open up this toolkit.
All right.
What are we talking about here?
One of the most fundamental tools is the SWOT analysis.
Wait, SWOT analysis. Isn't that like Business 101?
Yeah, but it's surprising how relevant it is to this world.
Okay.
SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
So by analyzing these 4 factors
Okay.
in the context of your organization and the FCA regulations,
Mhm.
you can uncover risks and vulnerabilities
Okay.
that you might have missed.
So, for example, you're a fintech startup.
Yeah.
Your strength might be your cutting-edge technology,
hmm
but your weakness could be your lack of experience with regulation.
Exactly. And by recognizing those weaknesses, you can start putting measures in place to mitigate those risks.
Okay.
Maybe that means hiring a compliance expert
Right.
or investing in some reg tech solutions to
Mhm.
help you stay on top of the changing regulations.
Because you don't want your, innovative tech to be derailed by a compliance misstep.
Precisely.
So SWOT analysis is a great place to start.
Yeah.
What other tools are we talking about?
Another essential tool is the risk register.
Risk register. Sounds official.
It is. It's basically a centralized document
Okay.
where you record all the risks you've identified, their assessments, and the actions you're taking to mitigate them.
So it's like a master list of everything that could go wrong.
Yeah, and your plan of attack for each one.
Okay.
And it's a living document. It evolves
Right.
as new risks emerge.
Got it.
Circumstances change.
Risk register. Check.
Go.
What else?
Well, once you've identified and assessed your risks,
Yeah.
you need a plan.
Right.
And that's where the action plan framework comes in.
So this is where we move from theory
Yes.
to practice, actually doing something about these risks.
Precisely. An action plan framework outlines specific steps to manage each risk, including timelines, responsibilities, the resources required.
So it's a roadmap for tackling each one,
You got it.
making sure everyone knows what they need to do, who's accountable,
Yeah,
when things need to happen.
exactly.
Okay.
Clear action plans are crucial.
Right, because in the world of FCA compliance, those cracks can get expensive.
They can.
Okay, so we've got a plan in place.
Yeah.
But what happens if, despite our best efforts,
Yeah.
something still goes wrong?
That's where insurance solutions come in.
Okay.
Insurance can act as a financial cushion,
Right.
protecting you from the potentially devastating costs of a compliance failure.
So like if you have a data breach or a cyber attack,
Exactly.
you've got some financial backup
Right.
to help you get back on your feet.
Exactly. Insurance is a valuable tool for transferring risk
Okay.
and mitigating potential losses.
So we've got insurance as a backup.
Yeah.
But is there anything else companies can do to, like, really test their resilience?
That's where stress testing comes in.
Stress testing, like putting your company through the ringer.
Yeah, it's like a simulation
Oh, yeah.
of various adverse scenarios,
Right.
like a sudden market crash,
Right.
a major cyber attack,
Mm.
a significant regulatory change,
Okay.
to see how your organization holds up.
So it's like a fire drill for your compliance program,
I like that. Yeah.
making sure everyone knows what to do when the alarm bells go off.
Exactly.
Okay.
Stress testing helps you identify weak points in your systems, allows you to make improvements,
Right.
strengthen your resilience before a real crisis hits.
So we've got SWOT analysis, a risk register,
Uh-huh.
action plan framework, insurance, stress testing.
Yep.
It's a lot to take in,
It is.
but it seems like a pretty comprehensive approach.
Yeah. The key takeaway is that effective risk management requires a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
You need a combination of tools,
Yeah.
strategies
Ah.
to create that framework
Okay.
for identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks.
And it's all about ensuring compliance with FCA regulations
Absolutely.
and building that strong risk culture within your organization.
It's not just about avoiding fines.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where everybody understands the importance of compliance
Yeah.
and actively works to manage those risks.
But how do you build that culture?
That's a great question, and it goes far beyond just having rules in place.
Okay.
It's about fostering an environment where compliance is valued, understood,
Right.
embedded in those day-to-day operations of the business.
So it's more mindset and behavior
Yes.
than just ticking boxes.
Absolutely. It's about creating a shared understanding that compliance is everyone's responsibility.
Okay. How do you go about creating that? Is there a secret formula?
There's no magic formula,
Right.
but there are some practical strategies that firms can implement.
Okay. Tell me more.
One of the most effective strategies is to invest in regular training
Okay.
and awareness programs for staff.
Okay. We'll delve into that a little bit later.
Sounds good. So we were talking about training and awareness programs
Yeah.
as one of the most effective strategies for building that strong compliance culture.
Yeah. I'm really curious to learn more about that.
Okay.
It seems like getting everyone on board is so crucial.
Absolutely.
But how do you make it engaging and relevant
Right.
for employees at all levels?
Yeah.
How do you make sure it doesn't just become another box-ticking exercise?
You're absolutely right. It can be a challenge to make compliance training engaging,
Yeah.
but it's essential to move away from those dry lecture-style presentations
Right.
and find ways to make the content interactive,
Right.
relevant to their day-to-day roles.
Okay, so how do we spice things up?
All right. Well, one way is to use real-life case studies,
Okay.
maybe even ones that have made headlines.
Right.
Show employees how compliance failures in other companies
Yeah.
have led to financial losses, reputational damage,
Yeah.
even criminal charges. It becomes much more real when they can see the tangible consequences
That's a great point.
of non-compliance.
It's like those safety videos they show on airplanes.
Exactly.
Right. They always include real-life stories
Yes.
of accidents to drive the point home.
It makes it much more impactful.
Exactly.
Another effective approach is to use interactive scenarios
Oh.
where employees have to make decisions
Right.
in different situations
Yeah.
so they can actually apply what they've learned,
Okay.
see how their choices can impact compliance outcomes.
So it's like choose your own adventure,
Exactly.
but for compliance training.
Yeah, you want to create an experience that's both informative and engaging.
Okay.
And don't forget about storytelling.
Right.
Instead of just listing rules and regulations,
Mm-hmm.
weave them into compelling narratives that
Well.
people can actually connect with emotionally.
Make it relatable, make it human.
Absolutely. And remember, training isn't just a one-time thing.
Right. It has to be ongoing.
It needs to be an ongoing process. Yeah.
Reinforced through regular communication.
Yeah.
Updates, refresher courses.
Right, because the regulatory landscape changes all the time.
It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, what might be compliant today
Right.
could be outdated tomorrow.
Absolutely. So training and awareness are crucial,
Yeah.
but it's also important to create a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up
Right.
if they see something that doesn't seem right.
Okay. But how do you encourage people to speak up?
Yeah.
especially if they're worried about, retaliation.
Right. That's where having those clear reporting channels is essential.
Okay.
So this could be an anonymous hotline,
Mm-hmm.
an online reporting system,
Right.
or even just an open door policy
Yeah.
where employees feel comfortable going to their managers or
Mhm.
compliance officers.
So give people multiple avenues,
Exactly.
depending on their comfort level,
Yeah.
the nature of the issue.
And it's crucial that organizations respond to those concerns promptly.
Right.
Don't let those reports gather dust.
Investigate every concern.
Okay.
Take appropriate action.
Mhm.
Communicate the outcome to the person who raised it.
So you're showing employees that you take their concerns seriously,
Absolutely.
that you're committed to creating that culture of accountability,
Yeah.
transparency.
Precisely. And remember, fostering a culture of compliance isn't just about avoiding penalties.
Right.
It's about doing the right thing, upholding those ethical standards,
Yeah.
building trust with your clients
Okay.
and stakeholders.
So align your business practices with your values
Exactly.
and make compliance a positive force, not a burden.
Well said.
Okay.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about those 4 major categories
Okay.
of compliance risk that we mentioned earlier.
Right.
Financial crime, conduct risk, operational risk, and data protection risk.
Okay, I'm ready to explore those in more detail.
All right, let's start with financial crime,
Okay.
since that's often what makes headlines.
Uh-huh.
So financial crime encompasses a wide range of illegal activities,
Okay.
from money laundering and terrorist financing to fraud and bribery.
The stuff that keeps compliance officers up at night.
Exactly. And it's a constant battle
Right.
because criminals are always coming up with new methods.
Yeah, they're getting more sophisticated.
They are.
Okay.
So it's crucial for firms to have really robust systems in place
Right.
to detect and prevent financial crime.
So what are we talking about here?
We're not talking fancy algorithms.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Technology definitely plays a huge role.
Okay.
We're seeing firms using things like transaction monitoring systems
Okay.
to flag suspicious activity in real time.
Okay.
So these systems can analyze massive amounts of data
Right.
to identify patterns, anomalies that might indicate money laundering or other illicit activities.
So like a digital detective,
That's a great way to put it.
constantly scanning for clues.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got know your customer checks. KYC, exactly.
Those are the forms you fill out when you open a bank account.
Exactly.
Or apply for a loan.
Yes.
Okay.
They might seem like a hassle,
Yeah.
but they're crucial for preventing financial crime.
Right.
By verifying those identities,
Mhm.
understanding the nature of customer relationships,
Okay.
firms can mitigate the risk of being used for money laundering
Got it.
or other illegal activities.
Okay. So technology is important,
Yeah.
but it's not just about having the latest systems, right?
It's not.
You still need the human expertise
Absolutely.
to make sense of the data.
You need a well-trained compliance team
Right.
to analyze the alerts,
Yeah.
investigate suspicious activity,
Right.
escalate issues as needed.
Because sometimes those algorithms can throw up false positives.
They can, or miss subtle cues
Right.
that a human investigator might catch.
Yeah, it's a partnership
But it-
between the humans and the machines.
Absolutely, each playing to their strengths.
Okay. So financial crime, complex beast.
It-
Constantly evolving.
Yeah.
What about conduct risk?
Okay.
We touched on this earlier.
Right, with the example of the financial advisor.
Yeah. Pushing an unsuitable product.
Yeah.
Can we dig into that a bit more?
Of course. So remember, conduct risk is all about making sure firms are acting in the best interests of their clients, treating them fairly.
Mm-hmm.
It's about ethics,
Wow.
integrity, building trust.
So it's not just about avoiding illegal activities. It's about doing what's morally right
Absolutely.
and building those sustainable relationships
Wait,
with
so-
your clients.
The FCA has a whole set of rules and principles
Okay.
to promote fair and transparent markets.
Right?
And conduct risk can manifest in a lot of ways. It
Yeah.
could be mis-selling financial products,
Okay.
providing misleading information,
Right.
or even just failing to respond to customer complaints adequately.
So it's about embedding ethical behavior
Yeah,
into every aspect of the business.
exactly. And the FCA takes conduct risk very seriously. They can impose big fines
Mhm.
and even revoke licenses for firms that don't meet their standards.
Okay, so the stakes are high.
They are.
How can firms mitigate this? Is it just about having a code of ethics and hoping for the best?
Hope is not a strategy.
Right.
You need to have systems and processes in place
Okay.
to monitor your activities,
Mm-hmm.
identify those potential conflicts of interest,
Right.
address any issues promptly.
So like with financial crime, it's about checks and balances.
Yeah.
But you're looking for patterns of behavior that might be unethical.
Precisely. And it's also about creating a culture where employees feel comfortable raising those concerns,
Right.
reporting any potential misconduct without fear of retaliation.
Right, because even with the best systems, things can still slip through.
They can.
And you need that environment where people are empowered to speak up.
Absolutely. And that's where leadership plays a crucial role.
Okay.
When senior management sets the tone,
Right.
demonstrates that commitment to ethical conduct.
It filters down through the entire organization.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all ties together.
Good.
It's not just rules and regulations, it's the culture that matters.
It's the culture that underpins everything.
Okay.
And that brings us to our next category, operational risk.
All right, the risk of things going wrong internally.
Yes.
Tell me more about what falls under that.
So operational risk is basically anything that could disrupt the normal functioning of the business.
Okay.
So human error, system glitches, natural disasters, cyber attacks.
Anything that could cause a headache for the company.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
And in the financial world, these operational failures, they can have huge consequences.
Right.
Financial losses, reputational damage, even regulatory sanctions.
Because even a small error can snowball into a major issue.
Absolutely. Think about a simple data entry mistake that leads to an incorrect payment being processed.
Right.
That could trigger a chain of events.
That costs the firm millions.
Right.
Damages its reputation.
Okay. How can firms mitigate this risk?
Yeah, so it's about having those robust processes and controls to prevent errors from happening in the first place.
So clear guidelines for employees, things like that.
Exactly. Segregation of duties to prevent fraud.
Right.
Regular audits to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Yeah.
And it's about having that strong risk culture
Right.
where employees are encouraged to report any issues.
Right. Even near misses.
Even near misses.
Can be valuable learning experiences.
You want to catch those potential problems before they become disasters.
Okay.
And it's about having a plan in place for when things do go wrong.
So a disaster recovery plan.
Exactly. A good disaster recovery plan
Yep.
outlines the steps to take in those emergency situations so the firm can continue operating.
Right.
Minimize any disruption to services.
Okay. Operational risk.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Data protection risk.
Yeah.
This one seems particularly relevant these days.
It's more relevant than ever.
Yeah, with all the data breaches, cyber attacks we hear about.
Data breaches are becoming so common.
Right.
The FCA is really focused on data protection, making sure firms are doing everything they can to protect that sensitive customer data.
Because those breaches can have devastating consequences.
They can.
For everyone involved.
Absolutely. And it's not just about protecting against those external threats, like hackers.
Yeah.
Firms also need to be handling data responsibly internally, complying with regulations like GDPR.
Yes, GDPR, those cookie pop-ups.
Those cookie pop-ups.
That we all love to hate.
Exactly. But GDPR sets a high bar for data protection.
Okay.
Gives individuals more control over their information, requires firms to be transparent about how they collect, store, and use that data.
So it's about respecting privacy.
Yeah.
Building trust with your customers.
Absolutely.
Showing them you take their data seriously.
Exactly.
Not just as something to be bought and sold.
Precisely.
Okay.
The FCA expects firms to have robust systems in place for GDPR compliance.
Okay.
Things like data encryption, access controls,
Right.
data breach response plans.
Okay, so we've covered the 4 major categories.
We have
Financial crime, conduct risk, operational risk, and data protection risk.
Yes.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Is there a way to summarize this?
Yeah, I think the key is to approach compliance strategically, not reactively.
Right.
So build a culture of compliance that is embedded in every aspect of the business.
So don't just try to react to threats.
Right.
Have a proactive plan.
Exactly.
To manage risks in all these different areas.
By embedding compliance into your DNA, you can create a culture of responsibility, build trust with your clients, and ultimately achieve that sustainable success.
It becomes a way of doing business.
It does.
Not just a box to check.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a great takeaway.
Oh, good.
It's not just about avoiding fines.
Right.
It's about building a better business.
Yeah.
A more ethical financial system.
Well said.
All right. I'm feeling much more knowledgeable about FCA compliance.
Good.
But also a bit fired up.
That's good.
This stuff really matters.
It does.
Not just for businesses,
Right.
but for the whole system.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've learned about the different types of risks,
Yeah.
the consequences of not managing them,
Mm-hmm.
and some strategies for building that strong culture.
It's all connected.
It is.
Compliance is an ongoing journey,
Right.
not a destination.
Yeah.
As the landscape changes, new risks emerge.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay informed,
Right.
adaptable,
Yeah.
and committed to doing the right thing.
Okay, so I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
All right, I'm listening.
We've talked a lot about the systems and processes
Yeah.
to manage risk,
Right.
but what about the human element?
Okay.
How do we empower individuals to be that first line of defense?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of what compliance is all about.
Okay.
It's not just about rules and regulations. It's about creating that culture
Yeah.
where everyone feels responsible
Right.
for upholding those ethical standards,
Right.
taking ownership of compliance.
So how do we create that?
Yeah.
Is it training?
It's likely a combination of things.
Right.
We need to think about how to motivate people,
Yeah.
not just through fear of punishment,
Right.
but by fostering a sense of shared responsibility,
Yep.
pride in doing things the right way.
So move beyond compliance as a chore
Yeah.
and reframe it as something integral to the success
Yes.
and integrity of the business.
Exactly. And that's something we can explore further in part 3.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to explore the human side of compliance. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We left off talking about empowering individuals and organizations to be that first line of defense against compliance breaches. It's all about the human element.
It really is. You know, we can talk about robust systems and processes all day long,
Yeah.
but ultimately compliance comes down to people making those ethical decisions,
Right. Recognizing those risks.
recognizing the risks, yeah.
And speaking up.
And speaking up when something's not right.
Exactly.
If people aren't engaged and empowered, the system's only as strong as its weakest link.
It's like having a fortress
Yeah,
with the back door wide open.
that's a great way to put it, yeah.
Right.
So how do we close that back door, so to speak? How do we make sure everyone's actively participating in maintaining compliance? It's about cultivating that culture where compliance isn't a burden. It's not just a box to check. It's a
Right.
shared responsibility. It's something to be proud of.
I like that.
Yeah.
But how do you actually make that happen? Is
Yeah.
it, a top-down approach? Leadership sets the tone.
It's got to be both.
Okay.
It's got to be a combination of top down and bottom up.
Right.
Strong leadership is absolutely crucial. When leaders consistently demonstrate their commitment to compliance, not just through their words, but their actions.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And that sends a powerful message.
Yeah.
But if it's all about fear of punishment,
Right.
that's not really sustainable.
It's not.
You need to foster an environment where people feel safe speaking up, raising concerns, even admitting mistakes.
Right.
Without fear of retribution.
It's psychological safety.
Psychological safety, exactly.
Right. So people can be open and honest.
Yeah, you need open dialogue.
Even when the conversations are tough.
Absolutely. And a willingness to listen to all those perspectives.
Yeah.
From all levels of the organization.
Okay, so let's get practical.
All right.
What are some tangible things
Yeah.
that organizations can do?
So one of the most effective tools, and we talked about this earlier, is training,
Yeah.
but not that boring.
Click through modules.
Like through, death by PowerPoint.
Right. Nobody likes this.
No one learns from that. Yeah. We need to think about how to make it engaging, right, relevant, fun, even behind compliance training.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Right.
Interactive scenarios.
Choose your own adventure.
Case studies. Yeah, like you said, choose your own adventure. Exactly.
Like for compliance.
You want to create an experience
Right.
that sticks with people
Yeah.
long after the training is over.
And it can't be a one-time thing.
It can't.
Right. Has to be ongoing.
Needs to be ongoing, yeah.
Adapt as the regulatory landscape changes.
Regular communication, updates, refresher courses, those are all essential.
Okay. So we've got engaging training,
Uh-huh.
ongoing communication.
Yeah.
What else?
Another key strategy is to provide those clear and accessible channels for reporting concerns.
Yeah.
This could be an anonymous hotline,
Right.
an online system,
Yeah.
even just an open door policy.
Yeah. So people feel comfortable going to their manager.
Exactly. Or a compliance officer directly.
Right. Because if they don't know how to report,
Or they're afraid to.
they're going to stay silent.
It helps nobody.
Nobody. Exactly.
So you give people multiple avenues.
Yeah.
depending on their comfort level.
And the nature of the issue.
Right.
And organizations have to demonstrate that they take these reports seriously.
Right, not just a suggestion box that gathers dust.
Exactly. You've got to investigate those concerns thoroughly.
Take action?
Take action, communicate the outcome.
Show that you value that input.
You value their input, absolutely.
Create that culture where people feel like they can speak up.
Yeah.
And it's rewarded, not punished.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got training, reporting channels. What else can we do to empower employees?
Recognition is huge.
Okay.
Highlight. Celebrate those individuals who are committed to compliance.
So like Employee of the Month.
Oh, I love that.
For spotting the most risks.
Yeah, or making the best suggestion. Exactly.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
Right.
Even a simple thank you.
Yeah.
A shout out in a meeting. It's a small gift card. It goes a long way.
Reinforces that positive behavior.
It does.
It's making compliance something to be proud of.
Yes.
Not just a chore.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think it's important to remember that compliance isn't just about avoiding those negative consequences.
Right.
It's about doing the right thing.
It's about ethics.
Ethics, integrity, yeah.
Aligning your actions with your values.
When we think about it that way, it's not just rules and regulations. It's about building trust, protecting your reputation, building a sustainable business.
Right. Compliance becomes a positive force.
No, it does, not a constraint.
Okay. So much great stuff today.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation.
From the basics of FCA regulations to the importance of the culture and how to make everyone feel empowered.
It's all connected.
It is.
And it's a journey, not a destination.
Right. It takes effort.
It does.
Adaptation, commitment to always improving.
Absolutely.
So for anyone listening who wants more guidance, support on their compliance journey,
check out Compliance Consultant.
check out Compliance Consultant, the home of the compliance doctor.
Yeah, they've been a great resource for us.
They have.
And I'm sure they can offer some great insights to our listeners as well.
We'll include all their contact info in the show notes.
Perfect.
So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay compliant.